Yo, listen up. You ever walk these blocks, weave through crowds, feel the air humming with hustle, but also with straight up tension? This ain't no fairy tale. Real life, real people, real struggle. It's a fight every day. And out in these streets, ain't nobody handing out gold stars for being nice. Look, I'm not here to sugarcoat Jack. I'm here to drop some street wisdom, plus throw down with those old Stoic philosophers, mixing what they knew with what you gotta do just to survive out here. Kindness. Seems simple, right? Maybe you grew up with your mums telling you, play nice, share your toys, help your neighbor. Maybe your granddad dropped lines like, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. That's all good in theory, real sweet, like lemonade on a summer stoop. But once you're grown, once you grind for your rent and fight for your respect, you start learning fast. Kindness, when done wrong, when handed out too easy, that's the kind of move that just might mess up your whole life. Let's get it straight. I'm not out here saying being a straight-up monster's the goal. Nah, don't twist my words. What I'm saying is, you gotta know the stakes. Kindness is currency. Give it to the wrong folks, give it at the wrong time, or give too much. You're about to pay more than you ever got. Everybody out here's hustling, from suits on Wall Street to hustlers in the projects. Kindness can be your strength, but people twist it, flip it, weaponize it. Suddenly, your goodwill turns you into a doormat. Easy pickings, the cat they call soft. See, the Stoics, those old school philosophers from back in the day, cats like Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, they knew pain. Their worlds were ruthless and cold, just like this city when the sun sets and the shadows get long. You read their stuff, it ain't just fancy words, it's wisdom born out of struggle. They'd be the first to tell you humility and generosity are tight, but only when you got control over it. They'd say, don't let people rent space in your head for free. Don't hand over your kindness like handing out snacks at a party. You gotta ration that out. Know who's earned it. Think about it. Walk down these streets, everybody's got a story. Some folks looking for a come up, some just straight up trying to survive, some out here scheming. You might spot that old lady hustling her cart, or the dude on the corner asking for change. For real, helping folks can feel good, fills your chest with warmth for a second. But kindness without backbone, that's like walking out with your wallet open, saying, here, take what you want. And that's what gets hearts broken, dreams wrecked, and bank accounts drained. And trust me, it gets you eaten up out here. Let me tell you, I learned this the hard way. First time I ever lent a friend my last 20, thinking he'd pay me back. Never saw that money again. Too nice to call him out. I just let it go, like it was nothing. Next time, he hit me up again and again, because kindness, when folks sense it's bottomless, becomes their meal ticket. That's the lesson the streets will teach you real quick. People take, and then they take more. You think you're helping, but what you're really doing is setting yourself up to be used. Stoics got another saying, control what you can, don't sweat what you can't. That fits kindness perfectly. Don't try and fix everyone. Don't bleed yourself dry for people who wouldn't give you a sip of water in a drought. Out here, street smarts mean you size folks up. Ask yourself, does this person really need my help, or are they playing me? That's not being cold, that's survival. That's protecting your peace, your time, your energy. Because kindness, real kindness, isn't just giving, it's knowing when not to give, knowing who deserves your light. But that don't mean be a cold-hearted bastard. Nah, the flavor I'm talking about, Stoic kindness. Street kindness, it means you stand tall, you show respect because you respect yourself. You help when you can, but never lose control. It's about boundaries. Your kindness ain't free. It's earned. Show love, but don't be blind. Keep your eyes open. Feel that realness in your chest, a mix of heart and hustle. Don't apologize for caring, just don't let it be your weakness. You know, some people say the world's broken. Nobody cares. Kindness gets you nowhere. That's half truth, half lie. Kindness makes you strong, makes you real. But only if you know how to use it. Be sharp, be alert, be real. As street talk, Stoic talk, they both agree. Don't be so busy trying to save everyone that you end up losing yourself. That's why, today, I'ma break down 11 ways kindness will ruin your life. Not to say never be kind. Nah, I want you to be kind like the OG Stoics, cold outside, warm within, tight-fisted with trouble, generous with wisdom. This ain't no lecture, it's survival tips, coming straight from the city, straight from the classics, straight from experience. You want to learn how to keep your heart strong, your mind sharper, and your hustle tight? You want to know how kindness sometimes sets up traps? Sit tight, lock in, and feel this lesson. Because on these hard streets, being too nice can be the coldest mistake you ever make. So take it from me, take it from the old school philosophers, take it from anyone who's ever been burned. Kindness is power, but only if you play it right. Don't let your kindness turn into your weakest link. Let's break it down. Strap in. Here's 11 ways kindness will ruin your life. Straight Stoic philosophy blended with real street smarts. Number 1. People will think you're weak and treat you that way. Out here, being kind can sometimes be a double-edged sword. When you extend a helping hand without putting up any borders, people can start to see you as soft, someone who's easy to push around. It's a harsh reality that many of us learn on the streets or in life's tougher moments. People will think you're weak and treat you that way. Kindness, in its purest form, is a virtue. But in environments where survival depends on showing strength, a display of compassion can be mistaken for a lack of resolve. That's why it's vital to be smart about how you present yourself, blending generosity with an unyielding core. Imagine this scenario. You're out on the block and you see someone in trouble. You step in, lend a helping hand, and share what little you've got. It might feel like the right thing to do, something that aligns with the Stoic philosophy of being calm and collected. The Stoics believed in managing your emotions and facing adversity with poise, yet they never encouraged blind generosity that leaves you exposed. They understood that vulnerability could be weaponized by those who seek to take advantage. So while you're busy showing love, you're also displaying your cards, your intentions, your vulnerabilities, and if you're not careful, you might leave yourself open to exploitation. Every act of kindness leaves behind traces of your character. In some circles, that's celebrated. But in others, especially in rough neighborhoods or competitive environments, it can be seen as a sign of weakness. People around you start to take note, watching for opportunities. They think, this guy is always there to help out. Maybe I can lean on him when times get tough. And soon enough, you might find yourself burdened, your kindness interpreted as a soft spot that invites manipulation. It's similar to how a gambler might study an opponent's tells. Every compassionate action gets logged, and eventually, someone will use that to their advantage. Consider the scene unfolding on a busy street corner. Two friends, hardened by the realities of their neighborhood, are having a conversation that cuts to the heart of this issue.
Yo, you always picking up everybody's slack, huh?
What can I say, man? Just helping out.
Careful. This ain't the kind of place where folks remember favors. At least not in a good way. They count on your kindness and then start expecting it. Sometimes even using it against you.
In this brief exchange, Guy 1 is warning his friend about the perils of unchecked generosity. In a tough environment, every favor, every assistance rendered might set a precedent. It can lead to a reputation where your good deeds become a well-known trait, a character flaw mistaken for a lack of backbone. When people know you're willing to help anyone, some will see that as an opportunity to offload their burdens on you, expecting you to shoulder weight that isn't yours to bear. The world isn't black and white. There's a delicate balance between being compassionate and being a pushover. Kindness and strength aren't mutually exclusive, but they must coexist. Just like the Stoics advise, remain composed, but never let your guard down completely. In a realm where alliances shift and loyalties are tested, maintaining that inner reserve is key. It's not about rejecting kindness. It's about ensuring that kindness comes with boundaries, with a clear understanding that while you're willing to help, you won't let anyone push you around. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean you're heartless or unprincipled. Preventing others from taking advantage of you is part of self-respect. Show that you care, but also show that you know your worth and that you're not in a position to be used. It's a constant negotiation between your compassionate nature and your survival instincts. The challenge is to navigate that fine line where you can lend your hand without leaving yourself vulnerable. In practical terms, this means being discerning about whose problems you solve and when it's appropriate to step back. It might involve making tough decisions, like saying no even when your instinct pushes you to help. Building a reputation for being strong-willed and self-reliant can sometimes be the greatest act of kindness you offer to yourself and, ultimately, to everyone around you. When you hold yourself with quiet strength, others learn to respect you, and respect begets a safer space for you to act compassionately without fear of exploitation. Every neighborhood, every community has its unwritten rules. Often, success isn't about how many people you can help. It's about how you help them without sacrificing your strength. The world remembers those who extend a hand with caution. Whether it's in a small street debate, across dimly lit alleyways, or in more formal settings, the wisdom remains unchanged. Respect starts from within. And it's built on the understanding that while kindness is a virtue, it must be tempered by discernment and the readiness to protect your own interests. So, keep in mind that true strength isn't measured in how many favors you grant, but in the balance you maintain. Show compassion, yes, but also demonstrate that you're not one to be walked over. As you navigate the complexities of human interaction, remember, wisdom lies in being both gentle and formidable, capable of empathy while standing firm in your own worth. This isn't an easy path. It requires continual vigilance and the will to say enough when needed. That's how you ensure that genuine kindness doesn't translate into perceived weakness, protecting not just your dignity, but also the integrity of your spirit. Number 2, too high of hopes for people. Having too high of hopes for people can set you up for a brutal kind of disappointment. When you're the kind of person who believes in the inherent good of others and constantly expects them to match your level of care, the reality can hit hard. Kindness makes you invest emotionally, putting your trust out there for someone to reciprocate. You give your time, your attention, your loyalty, only to find that not everyone is willing or even able to return the same goodwill. It's a risk, a gamble on human nature, and more often than not, people fall short of those elevated expectations. In our experience, kindness is like an open invitation for people to come over and relax at your place. It's warm, an invitation that suggests shelter from the storm. But not every guest that shows up has genuine intentions. Some people are just looking to take advantage, while others simply can't live up to the promise of care that you offer. There's a certain vulnerability in opening up your heart, leaving a piece of your soul out in the open for someone else. And if that offer of kindness isn't met with an equal measure of sincerity, you end up feeling betrayed, left wondering where you went wrong. There's a lesson in this that even the ancient Stoics understood. They taught a form of thinking that's grounded in reality, a stark contrast to overly romanticized ideals. Stoicism, in essence, is about accepting life as it comes and understanding that people are flawed. They remind us to keep our feet firmly planted on the ground. Rather than living in a world of naive expectations or chasing after distant, idealistic dreams, Stoics encourage us to see people for who they truly are, rather than who we wish they could be. This doesn't mean shutting yourself off from emotional connection. It means having your eyes open to the possibility that many won't live up to the ideal version of humanity that you might have in your head. Consider the emotional toll of expecting too much from those around you. When you believe wholeheartedly that everyone you encounter should be as caring and supportive as you are, chances are you're setting yourself up for a series of letdowns. I've been there, maybe more often than I'd care to admit. There's a pattern in life where I reached out with a generous heart, only to see it met with indifference or, worse, exploitation. It's a hard pill to swallow. The realization that not everyone in your life is designed to appreciate the effort you invest in them. And perhaps, if you've been around long enough, you've experienced it too. Hopes, as high as they may be, often don't match the reality of people's actions. The concept of having high hopes is a double-edged sword. On one side, it represents an optimistic worldview, a belief that if you act right and care deeply, the universe will favor you with reciprocity. On the other side, it's a recipe for chronic disappointment. Too high of hopes bind you with invisible expectations, and when those expectations aren't met, it feels like a personal failure. It's like throwing all your chips on the table in a gambling game and watching the house win. The higher you build your expectations, the harder the fall when reality comes crashing down. This isn't to say you should stop striving for goodness in people or discount the value of kindness. There's immense beauty in living with an open heart and believing in the potential goodness of others. But while the heart might be the seat of idealism, the brain must act as the guardian of your well-being. Balance is the key here. Embracing kindness without letting it turn into blind trust is an art form. It is about learning the subtle differences between genuine understanding and misplaced faith. It also means accepting that people have their own burdens, their own histories, and often their own struggles. When you see the world through a hopeful lens, you might mistakenly assume that kindness is a universal language. But the truth is, most aren't carrying the same hope or sharing the same ideals as you do. They come to the table with different agendas, different levels of maturity, and sometimes a different understanding of loyalty. And that's okay. It's natural. It's human. However, it does mean that if you're constantly expecting the best from everyone, you are setting a trap for your own emotional well-being. Living with tempered expectations doesn't make you less kind or less of a dreamer. It simply means you've learned from the past. It means you accept that the world is a patchwork of good and bad, strength and vulnerability. And as much as you might want the world to reflect the best of humanity, reality often plays out in shades of grey. Stoic principles help us anchor this understanding. They remind us to remain realistic, to keep our hopes alive, but not let them become a source of perpetual disappointment. In practical terms, this means tuning into your intuition and reading people carefully. Learn to recognize when your generosity is taken as a green light for continuous demands rather than a genuine act of friendship. It means setting clear personal boundaries so that you don't get worn down by the weight of unmet expectations. It's about finding that sweet spot between hope and realism, where you can extend your hand out widely, yet stay ready to pull it back if the situation demands. Ultimately, while high hopes for people are born out of a beautiful, hopeful state of mind, they can sometimes become the very chains that hold you back. By striking a balance, being kind yet also cautious, you protect your inner peace. Remember, having high hopes isn't inherently wrong. It's simply when those hopes don't align with reality that you need to reevaluate and adjust. This approach doesn't cool your spirit. Instead, it sharpens it with wisdom, ensuring that kindness remains a strength rather than a liability. Number 3, you'll make people think twice. Out here on these tough streets, acting right, lifting others up with genuine kindness can flip the script on people. When you do the right thing, when you're steady in your values and living by what you believe in, you end up forcing others to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And sometimes that reflection isn't too flattering. It's like you're holding up a mirror they never asked for, exposing their insecurities, their hidden jealousy, and the fears they bury deep inside. In many cases, your decency is the inconvenient truth they're not ready to face. And when that truth stares back at someone, envy and resentment can quickly turn into hostility. Imagine walking down a dimly lit block where loyalty is currency and street cred is earned in gritty moments. You've always done your best to be real, to show kindness, and to do the right thing even when it's easier to cut corners. But here's the catch. Being decent in a world built on raw survival instincts makes you stand out, and not always in a good way. When you raise the bar with your behavior, you set yourself apart from the norm, and that can unsettle those who are too used to living in the shadows of bitterness and mistrust. There's something almost poetic about this paradox. Stoic philosophy tells us that it's not the external world that causes our suffering, but how we perceive it. Yet, in practice, showing real kindness can stir up a storm among people who are trapped in certain mindsets. When you shine the light of decency in dark places, some folks simply can't handle it. They might start questioning their own choices and feelings. Why can't I be like that? Becomes the burning question in their head. And that question breeds doubt, and doubt often morphs into anger. We all know the game on these streets, a mix of respect, survival, and unspoken rules. When you're known for steady kindness and integrity, you're not just another face in the crowd. You become a symbol, almost like that rare gem that many desire but few possess. That has its consequences. People who aren't used to being held to such standards tend to look askance at you. They might call you soft, or they might secretly resent you for making them question their own rougher tactics. Sometimes, your own actions can create enemies simply because you are what they are, not a living contradiction in a world that often rewards ruthlessness over warmth. Picture a situation where you help out a neighbor, toss a few coins to someone who's down, or simply stand up for what's right. In the heat of the moment, you might not notice the shifted glances or the whispered conversations behind your back. But trust me, the street don't take kindly to what it doesn't understand. Your kindness is like a sudden burst of light in a place that's been sitting in perpetual dark. And while that light may seem warm and inviting to you, to someone else, it's blinding. It disrupts their familiar ways, and that disruption sparks envy. They view your actions as a challenge to the established order, a flag planted in defiance of the norms they've come to rely on. Even the wise Stoics knew that truth and virtue can be a double-edged sword. They preached the importance of inner strength and called for actions rooted in virtue and rationality. But the Stoics also understood that the world doesn't always reward nobility with smooth sailing. In fact, many of their teachings remind us that hardships and trials are simply part of the natural order. Right actions may bring inner peace, but they can also make you a target. Not everyone wants to see you thrive without bending the rules. The street, after all, has a way of twisting noble intentions into something it can use against you. It's the classic case of you reap what you sow. When you sow seeds of integrity, some people will choke on them because they're not used to that kind of harvest. They're comfortable with sour fruit, bitter and hardened by life's cruelty. But here's the twist: by simply being who you are, by choosing to act with kindness and honor, you force others to reckon with their choices. They start asking themselves, what do I really want from life? How much of my own soul have I sold for a little street cred? And not everyone is ready or willing to find those answers. There's an old saying on the block, the mirror don't lie. And when you become that mirror, you're not just reflecting yourself, you're reflecting the hopes, dreams, and hidden regrets of everyone around you. To some, that mirror is a welcome reflection. To others, it's a curse they'd rather not see. You might be that one person who makes people think twice about the way they live their lives, and that can be a heavy burden to bear, but with heavy burdens can come heavy wisdom. So, while you might earn enemies or ruffle feathers by simply being decent, remember that your path isn't measured by how many people you offend. It's measured by how steadfast you remain, by how true you stay to your own soul. In these streets, where shadows and pretense rule the day, being a beacon of kindness can be revolutionary. It's not easy, and it won't always be smooth sailing. But like the Stoics remind us, true peace and true power come from within, a durable core that's unshaken by the envy or cruelty of those around you. In the end, let your light shine, even if it blinds some of the folks living in dark corners. Embrace the fact that your decency might make people look at themselves and question their own choices. And if that means you make enemies along the way, so be it. The world needs people who aren't afraid to show that there's strength in kindness, a strength that dares to make everyone think twice about their own way of living. Keep your head high, guard your heart with vigilance, and remember, staying true to yourself is the ultimate street smart move. Number 4, people will only expect you to give them something. Yo, check it out. When you keep opening your heart and your wallet, sooner or later people start treating you like a never-ending ATM of favors. You share once, twice, and before you know it, they've got their hands out all the damn time. At first, it might feel like you're building a solid rep, being that person everyone counts on. But soon that rep turns into a burden, and you realize you're not just the kind soul in the neighborhood, you're the go-to problem solver, the dependable one who never learns to say, nah, I'm good. And with every favor you do, a new expectation is born, like a silent contract that you're always ready to dish it out. It's like the moment you drop a little kindness, a switch flips in their minds. Now they don't see a friend, they see an endless resource, a charity waiting to be tapped. Let's break it down. Imagine you're out in these mean streets, hustling through the maze of cracked sidewalks and neon lights. At first, you lend a cash advance to a buddy who's in a bind. Later, you're handed another favor request, a ride, a place to crash, or even just a few extra bucks to make it through another day. It doesn't matter if you're broke yourself or if life's been rough. The expectation doesn't soften up. Instead, it grows like a weed in a concrete crack. And every time you say yes, you get a mental tally of "you owe me." It's like every act of kindness prints a little receipt, and the due date's already been set. Now, there's a real slap in the face when you're trying to catch your breath and every day feels like a never-ending hit list of demands. One minute you're chilling, minding your own business, trying to live with integrity and stoic calm, channeling your inner Marcus Aurelius, and the next thing you know, your phone's blowing up. Yo, can I borrow some cash? Nah. Hey, got a minute to help move stuff? Yo, can you watch my kid for a couple of hours? The list just goes on, and every time that phone rings, it's like a reminder that your kind reputation comes at a price. You're not just living for yourself anymore. You're inadvertently living for everyone else's expectations. Here's the twist. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we should control what's within our power and let go of what isn't. But when you're in the thick of the hustle and bustle, where every favor adds another weight to your soul, it's hard to remember that clean separation between what you owe and what you deserve for yourself. In the streets, they don't care about your inner peace, they care about the service you can provide. And that service, born out of genuine kindness, slowly morphs into an obligation. Every time you help someone out, you're left with a lingering sense that maybe, just maybe, you're in this for less than your own well-being. Imagine the exhaustion that builds up over time, a constant, gnawing pressure that makes you feel like you owe the world something. Classy Stoics like Seneca and Epictetus talked about living in accordance with nature and keeping one's inner fortress secure. But how do you build that fortress when every knock at the door is another plea for help that chips away at your resources? Each request, whether it's a financial favor or even an emotional boost, starts to pile up, and before you even notice, your life becomes a series of non-negotiable yeses, with your own problems left unresolved, sitting quietly in the background, waiting for their turn to be addressed. See, kindness might start as a powerful and genuine act, but when it's overdone, it turns into a liability. You become so entangled in meeting everybody else's needs that you barely have time to reflect on your own. Your aspirations, your problems, your dreams, all pushed to the back burner because you're too busy playing the role of the eternal provider. And then, when life throws you a curveball and you need someone to lend you that same support, you find yourself wondering, who's ever helped me out? The balance has tipped so far, you've forgotten what it means to guard your own energy and time. There's that familiar scene that plays out. You're at home, trying to recharge after a hard day navigating the urban jungle. When that dreaded phone call comes through, the voice on the other end is urgent, expecting you to drop everything and help out. And all you want in that moment is to breathe, to have a moment of peace without the weight of someone else's problems crashing down on you. But the script is written, and you're forced into the role of the dependable one who's never allowed to say no. And that constant barrage, that recurring pattern of obligation, slowly chips away at your spirit. But here's the catch, you don't have to follow that script forever, just like the Stoics advised. You have to cultivate the wisdom to decide when your kindness is a tool and when it's a trap. It's time to set some boundaries, to learn that saying no isn't about being unkind or abandoning your essence. It's about preserving your energy for the moments when your kindness is truly needed and for your own growth. The ancient philosophy isn't about cold-hearted detachment. It's about finding that sweet spot where compassion and self-care intersect. Think of it like this. Every time you help someone, let it be a conscious decision, a calculated bet in the game of life. You must weigh the cost versus the benefit. When someone is constantly leaning on you without ever offering a hand in return, that's your cue to pull back and reassess. Protect your resources, be it your cash, your time, or your emotional energy, just like any seasoned street hustler would protect their stash. Trust your gut. It's the one genuine compass you have in this urban wilderness. It's also about changing the narrative in your own head. Instead of feeling like you're stuck in the role that everyone expects of you, start viewing your kindness as a strength that needs to be managed strategically. Just like you wouldn't give away all your chips at the first hand in a high-stakes poker game, don't let every plea for help drain you dry. Instead, learn that it's okay to keep a little back, a little reserve for when the situation truly calls for it. This isn't about building walls around your heart. It's about crafting a selective door with a lock that you control. In the end, the lesson is clear. Kindness is a virtue, but one that can be taken for granted if not handled with caution. The next time that phone rings with another, "Can you help me out?" remember that you are more than just the dependable one. You're a person with your own battles to fight. Embrace the street smarts of knowing your limits, and let the Stoic wisdom remind you that your well-being is just as important as the needs of others. By balancing your genuine heart with a shield of self-respect, you can continue to give without giving away everything of yourself. And that, my friend, is how you stay kind and keep your life intact in this crazy urban jungle. Number 5, your goals will need to be taken into account. Life's a long, winding road, and you've got dreams that light up your mind like neon signs on a dark street. But right now, you might feel like you're caught in a tug-of-war between chasing those dreams and being pulled into everyone else's struggles. You've got moves to make, big moves that require hustle, resilience, and a clear head simmering with the wisdom of those who've walked these blocks before you. When you're busy showing kindness, lending a shoulder, or being that ride-or-die friend in the trenches, you sometimes end up stretching yourself thinner than you ever intended. That's when both the street code and Stoic philosophy come knocking, telling you, "Yo, take care of yourself, or you won't be around to help anyone else." Imagine hustling day in and day out, setting goals that could change the course of your life. Every plan, every movement you make is like a carefully drawn map through the urban jungle. You're out there juggling dreams, hitting corners, and trying not to get lost when the pressures of life start piling up. There's raw energy in your drive, like the heartbeat of the city at midnight, but you also know that if you let kindness or overcommitment take over, you risk burning out. It's a delicate balance, fueling your inner fire while not letting the world snuff it out. Both the street code and the ancient wisdom of the Stoics have wisdom for you here. When you're out spinning on the blocks, the street code lays down some ground rules. It doesn't let you be a martyr. It tells you straight up, you gotta watch your six, and sometimes that means putting yourself first. In simpler terms, you don't drown your own potential by always being the one who fixes everyone else's problems. There's hustle in the streets, but the hustle's got to have boundaries. You've seen people collapse under the weight of endless favors and empty promises, and you know that without self-care, your dreams will just keep getting pushed further back. Even when you've got a heart that's softer than the finest silk, the reality is, if you don't secure your own bag first, you won't have any left to share down the line. Now, slide over to Stoic philosophy. It's like that wise old uncle on the block who's seen it all and keeps it real. The Stoics remind you that being useful shouldn't equal losing yourself. They're not saying you shouldn't be there for your crew or that kindness isn't cool. They're just saying, keep your balance. Life's mission isn't to be the go-to guru for everyone's problems if it means you put your own dreams on hold. Living your values means working hard, yes, but it also means knowing when to step back, breathe, and focus on your own growth. This isn't just some high-minded theory, it's survival on these mean streets. Think about it like this. You're driving on an alley that's notorious for its twists and turns. Every decision is a fork in the road, and every moment is a chance to either get ahead or get lost. Your goals are the GPS guiding you through the turmoil of distractions and emotional potholes. When you let kindness override your own necessities, it's like watching your destination fade away. And it's not about being heartless. It's about understanding that your dreams are as valuable as any life you touch. The street code and Stoic message blend into one clear message: protect your vision. Don't be so busy helping others that you forget that the man in the mirror deserves some love too. It's all about playing the long game. This world, both gritty streets and inner sanctum of your thoughts, is not a place for rapid burnout. Instead, it rewards those who pace themselves, who recognize that every act of selflessness should also come with a measure of self-preservation. The hustle on these streets isn't just physical. It's mental, philosophical, and emotional. When you wrap your head around that, you see that your goals aren't just dreams off in some far corner, they're the foundation of who you are. And if you let them slide, you're not only cheating yourself, you're setting yourself up to be exploited by a world that doesn't always care about your well-being. Every time you hit a block, every time someone leans too hard on you, remember the two codes working in tandem. The street code reminds you to tighten up and watch out for your own back, while Stoicism whispers that true strength isn't in self-sacrifice to the point of self-destruction. It's in the quiet understanding that your individual journey matters. You can be a hero in your own life story. It's about finding that balance between being there for your people and not forgetting that your dreams are under construction too. Picture yourself a few years down the line. You've traveled the long road, and now you're in a position to look back with pride at the milestones you hit despite the odds. That's the reward when you manage to strike that balance, when you let both wisdom from the concrete jungle and centuries-old philosophy guide you. You realize that taking a stand for yourself doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a master of your own destiny. The landscape may be rough, and the temptations to overextend yourself might be everywhere. But if you remember where your true goals lie and honor the wisdom of both the streets and the ancients, you'll not only survive, you'll thrive. So, as you navigate your daily hustle and the battles within, let this idea resonate. Your dreams, ambitions, and goals need protection. Be kind, be supportive, but never at the expense of the person who's meant to lead that charge. You. The hardest lesson on these streets is realizing that by taking care of yourself, you're not turning your back on those you love. You're setting an example that true strength comes from balance, courage, and a deep commitment to one's own future. Remember, in the end, your journey is a marathon. Pace it with wisdom, hustle with heart, and let every step forward be guided by both street smarts and timeless insight. Number 6, you could end up getting hooked on something. You could easily wind up hooked on the rush of doing good, even on these rough streets, where survival sometimes means grinding harder than anyone else. Being kind isn't just an act you perform at the right moment. It's like catching a vibe, a high that reminds you you matter, that your actions leave an impression. When you're out here hustling every single day, even a small nod of respect from a stranger or a few kind words from someone who needed help can light up a dark moment. It's a natural hit, like that feel-good jolt you get when someone finally sees you for who you are. It's addictive, almost like chasing the next dose of validation that tells you, hey, you're worth it, someone cares. But here's the rub. Every addiction, no matter how noble it seems, has its downside. The streets are unforgiving, and when you build your self-worth on the recognition of others, you're relying on an unstable foundation. You see it every day. One minute you've got the admiration and the support flowing, and the next, it's like your well has run dry. One day, You could be out here laying it down for someone, doing your bit because you know kindness adds up, and then another day, there's no audience, no applause, nothing back at you, and that's where the danger lies. When you start needing that external approval to feel validated, you risk losing yourself. Instead of doing good because it's right, you're doing it just to get that hit of respect, that affirmation that says, you belong, and in these streets, where loyalty and respect aren't given, they're earned and often withheld, that kind of dependency can lead to a rough awakening. Growing up or surviving in these neighborhoods, you learn early that the world doesn't owe you anything. The streets teach you to keep your head on a swivel and to put yourself first, because at the end of the day, if you're not looking out for number one, nobody else will. It's a lesson ingrained in every bruise and setback. And it's at this crossroads between genuine kindness and the hunger for external validation that you must call on some Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once said that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Think about that for a minute. If you latch onto the need for others' approval as your main source of happiness, you're giving away your power. Instead, you need to cultivate an inner self-reliance that even the hardest streets can't shake. Imagine this. You're on the block, lending a hand to a buddy who's in a bind or offering a few kind words to someone trying to pick themselves up. For a moment, it feels like the universe is on your side. You catch that spark of connection, and it's as if the world just makes more sense. But then the next day comes along, and the praises, the smiles, all vanish. The emptiness of that void hits hard. It's like chasing a high that can't be repeated, a one-off thrill that leaves you more craving than fulfilled. When your self-worth becomes entwined with the reactions of those around you, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The streets don't always hand out second chances, and that cold lack of acknowledgement can sting like a slap in the face. In these gritty corners of life, being kind still matters, and doing good holds its own kind of power. But you've got to be street smart about it. The trick isn't to shut yourself off from caring, but to make sure your inner strength isn't handed over to the whims of others' applause. It's about building a reservoir of self-worth that's independent of any external validations. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you're less likely to fall into that trap of needing constant affirmation. It's one of those ironies of life. The very act that uplifts you can also be the one to break you if you let it define you. You've got to remember that respect, at its best, is a byproduct of living true to yourself, not something you chase around like it's the end-all be-all. In these concrete jungles, you'll often hear folks say, keep it 100, which means staying authentic no matter what. Authenticity is your shield against that dangerous dependency. It means letting your actions come from a place of inner strength rather than the hope of a pat on the back. Sure, recognition feels good, and it can even push you to be better. But if it becomes the only fuel for your kindness, then you're putting your peace on the line. There's something deeply stoic about understanding that the only control you have is over your own choices and attitudes. Instead of letting the fickle winds of others' opinions steer your life, anchor yourself in what you can control, your own commitment to being genuine. When kindness is rooted in that solid place, it doesn't matter if the world claps for you or not. You know the value of what you're doing. And that, my friend, is the ultimate street cred, a kind of respect that no one can take away because it's nurtured from within. So, as you walk these streets, remember to be kind, but be wise about it. Let the fulfillment come from knowing you did right, not solely from the external applause. Own your story. Seek validation from the one person who truly counts, you. In that self-sufficiency lies the secret not only to surviving, but thriving, even when the streets get cold and the cheers fade into silence. Number 7, attracting takers over givers. Attracting takers over givers is like walking down a rough city block where everyone's got an angle. You know how it goes. When you put out good vibes, extend a helping hand, or just drop some knowledge, you naturally pull people into your life. But here's the kicker. Those people aren't always the ones who'll return the favor. In the same way that street corners can hide both allies and adversaries, your acts of kindness might attract folks who are more interested in taking than giving. In our world, where every handshake might hide an ulterior motive, it's essential to stay sharp. Real talk, when you set out to help somebody, make sure you got your back covered. You might be that person on the corner handing out advice, keeping it real and unguarded. But there are always some out there who are just fishing for a piece of what you've got. They see you coming from a mile away. They know your rep, your vibe, even your mistakes. And they might be lurking, waiting for the moment they can snatch something off you without giving anything in return. Imagine you're the kind of person who's always throwing out good energy, assisting others with their struggles, or just always lending a hand when the going gets tough. Sure, That's a noble thing. Givers attract lots of folks. But in the hustle and bustle of life's busy streets, not everyone who benefits from your kindness has your best interests at heart. Some folks have the temperament of opportunists, always watching for the chance to lean on you without offering a shoulder back. That's when Stoic wisdom drops some heavy truth. Check your circle. Balance your life. It's like a street mantra reminding you to keep your crew tight and your eyes open. The Stoics taught us to be vigilant about who we let into our hustle. They understood that no matter how genuine your intentions might be, there's always someone lurking in the shadows, ready to take more than they give. So, while you're out there spreading your good vibes, keep an eye on the scale. If you're the only one contributing to the balance, you'll soon find yourself weighed down by those who only see your generosity as their ticket in. Picture yourself in the midst of a busy neighborhood. Every day, you pass by familiar faces, the ones who have always been in your corner, those who will pull you up when you're down. But then there are others who just show up when they're in need, only to vanish when it's their turn to return the favor. These are the takers. They're like quicksilver on the streets, slipping in and out, their intentions as transparent as a fogged-up window. They know your name, your story, and exactly what makes you tick. And while you might be busy giving your all, they're just waiting for the right moment to snag their share. This isn't about shutting your heart off from the world. It's about being smart enough to recognize when someone's taking more than they're putting in. It's about learning from that city life wisdom. The hustle and flow of communal living isn't always a two-way street. Sometimes you gotta be like a street warrior, tough, alert, and ready to cut loose the dead weight. If you find that you're the only one doling out favors while others only collect, it's a sign to check your circle. Ask yourself, who truly deserves my loyalty? Who's out here grinding side by side with me for our mutual gain? Now, let's break it down even further in street language. You know that feeling when you're pouring everything into a game, trying to build something solid, but it feels like every good move just attracts the snakes? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You put your heart out on the line, and then some folks start creeping up on you like vultures. They lace up their boots and join your crew for the perks. But when the time comes to share the load or take the risk, they vanish like ghosts in the night. And that, my friend, is when the scales tip and your generosity begins to drain you more than it uplifts. The ancient Stoics weren't naive. They knew this world was a mixed bag of folks. They'd say, keep your circle tight and choose who gets a seat at your table. It might sound trite or even harsh, but in street terms it's survival. Real life isn't a fairy tale where kindness is always reciprocated. Sometimes you need a little bit of that street smarts to balance your soul's generosity. It's about setting boundaries, knowing that while giving is good, it shouldn't come at the cost of being walked over repeatedly. So the next time you're feeling good for lending a hand or sharing a kind word, take a minute to step back and look at who's really out here with you. Are they bikers in the night who only roll deep when the rewards are high? Or are they the ride or die crew who have your back even when the lights are low? Balance is the name of the game, and even the most generous heart needs to know its limits. In the end, remember that life's like a busy street, a mix of bright neon promises and dark alleys filled with deceit. You'll always attract somebody when you give, but not all that glitters is gold. So keep your mind sharp like a blade, treat your trust like precious currency, and never let the takers drain what makes you. You, stay true, stay balanced, and let that street wisdom guide you through the maze of human interactions. Number 8. Overstretching your resources can lead to burnout, no joke. In the real world, energy ain't infinite. Think about it, you only got so much time, so much cash, and so much hustle in your day. If you keep giving until it all burns out, when you inevitably hit that wall, who's going to catch you? Who's out there ready to pick you up when life leaves you hanging in the dumps? When you're running on empty, nobody sees your pain. You're invisible, lost in the crowd. That's why I got to remind you with a little street wisdom mixed with some Stoic knowledge. Protect your peace, because without peace, there ain't no life. Life on the street is rough, and it often feels like you're in a constant fight mode, always on, always grinding. You got responsibilities stacking up, dreams high as the sky, and pressure coming at you from every direction. Every day it's the same story. You hustle, you struggle, you try to shine in a world that wants to see you dim. But hear this, you can't keep throwing everything you have into every battle without a strategy. If you stretch yourself too thin, that real talk kicks in. Burnout's coming at you faster than you expect. You gotta learn when enough is enough. See, there's this ancient wisdom that says, control what you can, and don't waste your energy on what you can't. It's pretty stoic, and it rings true on these hard streets. They talk about protecting your inner peace, like a warrior guarding his shield. Think of it like this. Every moment you give away your energy, remind yourself, I'm in control. My peace is non-negotiable. When you're hustling non-stop, it might seem like the world owes you a favor or that every sacrifice is worth the price. But without a pause or a break, that sacrifice turns into nothing more than empty promises to yourself. Life in the concrete jungle is unpredictable. One day you're riding high, feeling like nothing can stop you. The next, you're slammed with setbacks, friends gone, money tight, and the weight of regret piling up. It's during these dark days that your resources run low, and it becomes clear nobody can fill your cup if you let it run dry. A constant state of hustle without time to refill your spirit leaves you vulnerable to burnout. You feel like that lone guy sitting in a dark room, questioning all that kindness. Now, where everybody at? It's a cry for help, a reflection on how you gave so much without anyone even noticing when you needed help the most. This is why you got to pick your battles and learn to say no sometimes. Real street smarts. Every day on these streets is a test. And if you let every little struggle drain you, one way or another, you're bound to crash. Doing too much might seem noble or like a badge of honor, but if it steals away your inner calm and leaves you shattered, then what's the point? It's like trying to pour from an empty cup. Beware. Don't let burnout sneak up on you while you're busy fighting every fire. Protect your inner flame by knowing your limits and staying in tune with your well-being. Remember, the Stoics believed in understanding what's within your power to change and what isn't. In the hustle, this means checking yourself before you wreck yourself. Instead of clinging to every little thing that crosses your path, focus on what you can really control, your reactions, your priorities, your energy. When you're out there day after day, grinding hard, sometimes people mistake non-stop hustle for greatness. But the truth is, even heroes need a break. Respect your own limits as if you were protecting something far more valuable than money or status, your inner peace. On these mean streets, you learn quick that friends who only see you at your peak aren't really there when the weight of the world crashes down on you. They're the ones who disappear at sign of trouble. So, keep an eye on who's really got your back when you're down. If you're burning out because you're constantly reaching out for help or giving too much, take a step back and reevaluate. What's the use of hustling so much if you're not even there to enjoy the rewards? The street talk is clear. If you stretch yourself beyond reason, you're practically signing your own death warrant in terms of energy. Don't let yourself be consumed by the grind. Every time you feel like you're about to give it all to the grind, remember that the hustle isn't worth sacrificing your soul or your health. The balance is key. Enough grind to make moves, but enough self-care to keep you rolling. Picture this, you're hustling hard, but you also take a few quiet moments to breathe, to reflect, to recharge. That's when you'll be at your sharpest, ready to tackle the next challenge without falling apart. It might even seem like a luxury to slow down in the moment, but trust that preserving yourself leads to long-term strength. In the end, the streets can teach you many hard lessons, but let this be one of them. Burnout is real, and it's coming for everyone who overextends without a plan. Protect your energy like it's the rarest commodity, because it is. Stay smart, stay grounded, and keep that stoic mindset front and center. Accept that you can't do it all, and sometimes stepping back to collect yourself is the smartest move you'll ever make. No matter the hustle, know your worth and keep your peace intact, because without that inner peace, no hustle, no grind, no dream is ever truly worth it. Energy ain't infinite. You only got so much time, so much bread, so much hustle. You give it till it hurts. Who's gonna pick you up when you fall? Who's bringing you a meal? You burn out, nobody sees you. Stoic law, protect your peace. No peace, no life. All that kindness, now where everybody at? Number 9, misinterpretation of kindness as a weakness in competitive environments. Out here, on these mean streets or even in sleek boardrooms, showing kindness often gets twisted into a sign that you're soft, that you're not in the game for the real hustle. When you flash that genuine heart, some folks see it as a weakness, a sign you might not have the fire to fight for what you deserve. It's like if you let your guard down and share a little love, the aggressive ones out there latch onto it, thinking you're an easy target. In these rough and tumble environs, being kind is often mistaken for a lack of hustle. And the moment that misinterpretation happens, you're at risk of getting played or stepped on. Now, think about it like this. The Stoics would say that part of having real strength is mastering your own emotions, not letting them rule you. Marcus Aurelius might nod in agreement if he saw you keeping that strong spirit, even when you're doing good. He'd remind us, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. But here's the catch. In a world where everyone's trying to survive and climb their way up, Showing too much softness can be like giving a free pass to someone ready to exploit your generosity. No wonder, in the hustle and bustle of life, people often equate kindness with weakness, thinking you're too nice to back up your words with might. The street reality is brutal and honest. When you drop kindness on someone, they might see it as an invitation for a takeover, a sign that you're not keeping your eyes on the prize. They'll try to push you out, take what they want, and leave you feeling like you're standing on overturned crates and shattered dreams. That's why many warriors of the street and sharp minds in the boardroom have learned early that kindness should be banked, measured out wisely. You show too much, and the wrong people might think they've hit the jackpot. The Stoic outlook tells us to hold our cards close, to temper our natural empathy with caution and control. It's about knowing that while a generous heart is priceless, in a fight or in a challenge, you sometimes have to guard it like treasure. The trick is to recognize your own value without letting your guard drop completely. Respect yourself, trust your hustle, and never allow the gift of kindness to become your Achilles heel. It's like walking a tightrope. You got to balance the warmth of your soul with the cold pragmatism of the street. When someone tries to take advantage of you, remind them that just because you're kind doesn't mean you're a pushover. The true street smart know that having sensitivity and strength isn't a contradiction. It's the mark of a real fighter. You learn when to hold back that extra kindness and when to let your inner toughness shine. In essence, it's not about shutting down your compassion. It's about safeguarding it. Think of Stoic wisdom as your armor. It teaches you that while kindness enriches the soul, discernment is what saves you in a world that's quick to mistake generosity for weakness. Keep your heart open but your defenses up, because in the game of life, the ones who mix warmth with wisdom are the ones who truly make it to the top. Number 10. Loss of personal boundaries leads to being taken advantage of. No boundaries, no respect. The moment you let everybody in, you start losing yourself. Out here, you gotta have lines. Stoic wisdom, know where your space ends and theirs begins. You ain't gotta say yes every time. Street lesson, boundaries keep you alive. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's all too easy to forget about personal boundaries. We live in a world where everyone seems to want a piece of you, pulling and tugging at your time, your energy, and your spirit. No boundaries mean no respect. You start letting folks into your life without a second thought, and that's when the real trouble begins. It's like opening your front door to everyone in the neighborhood and then wondering why people are walking all over your living room. You gotta protect your space. It's your sanctuary. Imagine you're out on the street, trying to make a name for yourself. Maybe running your own business or just trying to survive day to day. Each person you meet wants something. They want your time, your advice, your skills, and if you're not careful, they'll take it without a second thought. You might think you're being nice by saying yes to every request. But guess what? Every time you do that, you're giving away a piece of yourself. You're diluting your worth, and before you know it, you're left feeling drained and resentful. Stoic philosophy teaches us about the importance of knowing ourselves and our boundaries. Think of it like this: you're standing at the edge of your own turf. You gotta know where your space ends and theirs begins. It's a basic survival instinct. Just like in nature, predators will keep pushing until they find a weak spot. In life, it's no different. If you don't draw that line, people who don't respect you will waltz right in and treat you like you're their personal doormat. Street smarts also come into play here. Out here, in the real world, you learn quick that boundaries can be your shield. It's not just about saying no to the wrong people. It's about saying yes to the right ones. You make choices about who gets access to your time and your energy, and those choices are what keep you alive, both physically and emotionally. It's like setting up a barrier at a party. Only the folks you trust get to step inside. Being vulnerable isn't a weakness. It's a part of life. But being overly accessible can turn into your biggest downfall. You need to find that balance. Life's going to keep testing you, throwing challenges your way and seeing how far you can bend before you break. Every time you neglect your boundaries, you're giving folks permission to overstep. You don't owe anyone an explanation for wanting your peace of mind. In the streets, it's about respect, and respect starts with how you treat yourself. When you learn to enforce your boundaries, you're also teaching others how to treat you. That's powerful. It's saying you value your time and your well-being. People may not like it at first. They might throw a fit or try to guilt trip you into compliance. But stand your ground. They'll either adjust or fall off your radar, and that's their loss, not yours. In the end, setting personal boundaries isn't about creating walls. It's about building a fortress around your true self. Let the world see the real you, but don't let them walk all over what makes you. You, like the Stoics said, focus on what you can control: your time, your energy, and your peace. So next time someone tries to cross that line, remember you have the right to protect your space. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. 11. Kindness can end up eroding your integrity if you let it. Last one. Kindness can mess with your own code. You start bending rules, making exceptions. What happens to your standards then? Keep your integrity tight, solid. Don't let kindness turn you into someone you don't even recognize. Let's be real, out here, life throws challenges at you every day, and sometimes the hardest thing to do is stay true to who you are. There's a line we walk between being kind and losing ourselves along the way, like letting our guard down so much that we start bending our own rules. You might think that kindness is all about being soft or weak, but even the toughest among us know that if you let your kindness run wild and unchecked, it can slowly mess with your own code. It's like you're giving away pieces of yourself until one day you look in the mirror and wonder if you're still the same person you grew up to be. Some say that being kind is what makes you human, and that's true. Being empathetic and caring is a big part of life. But if you're too quick to give in, too quick to make exceptions just to help someone out, it can start to erode that inner integrity that you worked so hard to build. Remember, integrity is your street cred in life, your inner compass that keeps you from crossing lines you can't uncross later on. If you keep letting kindness override your boundaries, little by little you might find yourself in a situation where you're no longer following the rules that once defined you. Think back to the old Stoics, those wise dudes who walked the rough roads of life with steady hearts. They believed that while you should be kind, you need to have the discipline to stand by your principles no matter what. It's like when you're hustling on the block, you might see a friend struggling. But if you always bail on your own standards for them, eventually you start believing that there's no line at all. Stoic philosophy teaches us to keep emotions in check and honor our personal code. It's about knowing that sometimes kindness isn't just a free pass to do whatever, but a call to be wise about when and how you give it out. Over time, you might start noticing a pattern. You're compromising more and more of yourself, and that's when it hits. You remember that friend who always got special treatment, or that errand you ran for someone that put you in a tight spot, and you begin realizing that when you've been too generous, you're not only setting others up for expectations, you're slowly letting your own defenses down. And that ain't the kind of street wisdom you want carrying you through life. It's like having a car with a leaky gas tank. Every time you help out, a little fuel drains away until there's barely enough to get you through the next block. When you're out there surviving the concrete jungle, integrity is your strongest armor. It means holding on to your standards, even when it feels like everyone else is breaking them. Kindness should never be a get-out-of-trouble-free card that you use to excuse poor decisions. Sure, cutting someone slack every now and then is cool, but if you let it slide too much, you're on track to losing that gritty edge that keeps you grounded. Life's about balance. Being kind doesn't mean you're a pushover. It means you know when to care and when to stand firm. Now, being street smart is all about making choices that respect both your heart and your hustle. It's okay to lend a hand, just not at the expense of your own self-respect. Imagine you've got a reputation to uphold. You can't let every small favor chip away at the fortress that is your integrity. When you mix real kindness with a healthy dose of wisdom, you're not only caring for others, but you're also setting up a system where you don't give away too much of yourself for free. Always remember the Stoic idea of doing what's right, regardless of external pressures. It means knowing that every time you bend your rules for kindness, it's a risk you're taking, a risk that might get you to a place where you're not sure who you are anymore. So, next time you feel that tug to help someone out, pause and check in with yourself. Are you still holding on to your values? Or are you letting loose bits of your integrity in exchange for a favor? Kindness, when channeled right, can elevate you. But if you allow it to push your boundaries, you might find yourself changing in ways you never intended. Trust in your inner hustle, keep your standards tight, and let your kindness be a tool rather than a weakness. In the end, protecting your integrity isn't just about staying tough, it's about making sure you're always, at your core, the person you want to be. See, kindness is powerful, but without wisdom, without limits, it will ruin your life. The Stoics ain't never said don't be kind, they just said be smart. Out here, real and raw, life ain't fair. You gotta balance your heart and your hustle. Use kindness like a tool, not a trap. Protect your spirit, hold your head high, be calm, don't be fooled. Yo, listen up. Life on these streets ain't no fairy tale. It's raw, real, and sometimes downright brutal. You see, kindness is a powerful tool, but if you let it run wild without thinking, it can get you hurt. The wise ones, the Stoics, never said don't be kind. They just said be smart about it. Back in these concrete jungles, every day is a hustle, and you got to keep one eye open. You learn quick that being soft doesn't mean you let the world push you around. Instead, it means you harness that warmth to build strength, to protect yourself, and to stand tall when everything's going sideways. Out here, people show their scars on the outside, marks of battles fought, lessons learned, and sometimes, under that hardened shell, there's a glimmer of hope. It's the spark of kindness that can change everything if channeled right. But don't get it twisted. Letting every good vibe slide in without some street smarts can leave you vulnerable. When you're walking these mean streets, you gotta know when to smile, when to nod, and when to slam the door on fools trying to take your energy. That's the real art of surviving out here. Balancing a warm heart with a mind that never stops calculating. I remember days when the weight of the world pressed down hard on my shoulders, when a kind gesture meant nothing if it left you bleeding on the pavement later. That's when I learned protecting yourself is as vital as sharing love. The Stoics, those old streetwise thinkers, taught us that being calm in the storm and knowing your limits is what sets you apart. They believed that true strength isn't just in punching back. It's in knowing when to hold off, be quiet, and then rise again without getting wrecked. It's about understanding that your heart is a prize, a tool to build and inspire, and not a trap for those looking to drag you down. You gotta watch out for the noise around you, the chatter that tries to make you feel less than you are. When the streets get rough and everyone's hustling for themselves, keep your soul locked up tight. Protect your space, your trust, and never give a damn about those who only want to see you crumble. Remember, kindness is like money in the bank, but only if you store it right. Use it to light up the dark moments, to fuel your journey, but never let it blind you to the hard facts of life. So, as you walk out there, head held high and heart guarded, remember this truth: be kind, but be smart about it. Stand firm when the weight of the world comes crashing down, and flex enough to keep those heartless naysayers at bay. Life's a raw hustle, and every choice you make counts. Let your kindness be a strength that builds bridges, not a weakness that leaves you shattered. In the end, keep it real, keep it stoic, and never let the concrete jungle eat you up for simply being genuine. Kindness is strength, but only if you know when to break, when to bend, and when to stand up for you. Don't let the world eat you for being real.